Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Zenitsu, and you're listening to the Digi Talks podcast, the show that covers various topics from news to meta developments and everything in between for the fine folks who love the Digimon trading card game. Just as a quick reminder, I do try to stream this live over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu, usually on Tuesday nights around 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, but fear not if you ever miss that, because it's also uploaded as a YouTube video under the channel of Zenitsu, as well as being on podcasting platforms like Spotify for your viewing and listening pleasure. Please feel free to do that social media doobly-doo thing and leave that like, rating, follow, subscribe, whatever, depending on the platform that you're listening on. It really does help support the podcast, so that way we could actually get it to spread and grow. Today I am back with Jay Stewart, and we're going to obviously be talking about the metadata that we just got for BT20, but we're also going to be taking a look into BT21, because I think at this point we know basically every card in the set. I think they're just spoiling some alt arts at this point, so we can kind of start to infer and put together some pieces what's actually going to be good out of BT21 and the starter decks by extension. So this brings us to the question of the week, and I don't really have a planned question of the week, so we'll just say as the question of the week, what was your Digimon highlight? Or, well, I guess maybe it could be an April Fool's thing. I don't know. I'm woefully unprepared for this. Do you have a question, Jay Stewart?
No, I think a question that you were kind of going off of was what's a moment from 2024 that maybe we found or is memorable still to this day? Like, what's the best thing we've thought of
Oh, that's a good
from
one.
2024?
Yeah, that's a good one. So the best 2024 memory, now that the 2024 season is over, because Worlds happened, we're officially unified. Man, there was a lot of good stuff. I think my big highlight probably was getting my invite. I guess it's such an anticlimactic thing, because like I'm saying it so nonchalantly, but it probably is getting my invite. Last year I did get my invite with Numemon during the whole Numemon craze. Before he got limited. So I guess I just got in while the getting was good. What was your memory?
Yeah, so for me, I went to the regionals in North Carolina, um, and I really didn't. I was hoping that maybe some people in my community would be going too, but unfortunately, it didn't end up being the case. So I kind of went flying in solo by myself, which is, it kind of sucks at times. But the Digimon community is like, even if you're traveling alone, you can find other people. And I found like I met like with like three people and everything, and we had such a good time. Like we were playing, like we were catching up with each other in between the rounds. Before the event, technically BT16 pre-release has started, so we actually all were just standing there talking like, "Hey, should we go to this pre-release for BT16?" And we're all like, "Yeah, sure, let's go." And we kind of did that. We did the pre-release there before the actual regionals happened. I think there was like 60 people at that pre-release, and that store was just like kind of flabbergasted by the amount of people we had, and it was just like a fun experience, honestly, because it's one of the things that I'm proud of with the Digimon community for our Digimon and everything. There might be times where I'm not having the best of time with the card game, but I still find great people no matter where I go for Digimon and have a good time with it.
You bring up a pretty good point. I was reading on the Book of Faces that somebody was asking how good the Digimon community is, and my reply to it, just kind of summarizing it, was for the most part, I think the Digimon community is really good. We do not take any kind of criticism kindly, whether it's constructive or destructive, so to speak. Just any kind of criticism or negativity is met with some very harsh people and words. And the Facebook community itself has a problem with anonymous posts. I personally don't care. Um, like, it's just a thing. Like, but anyone who posts anonymously, most of the time is met with some very vehement backlash just because it's an anonymous post for like borderline no reason, and I think that's pretty not cool. Like obviously they have their reasons why they're being anonymous, but and who am I to judge that? But I don't need to go in and attack the post just because the poster's anonymous. So I think that's honestly the worst part. Like saying if that's the worst part of the Digimon community is outside of a couple of bad eggs and the absolute hate for anonymous posting, we're pretty good as a whole.
Yeah, because like even at my local stores and everything, like if they're like every once in a while we'll get new players and everything, and we're not picking on the player for this or anything, but we typically like go, oh, you're new to Digimon? Here's a bunch of bulk that I have for whatever reason I just have with me, and we just like kind of throw all the extra cards we have at them, and then as soon as a new person shows up, just kind of like the whole Seagull scene of just from Finding Mimo of just everyone throwing cards at them and everything at my locals. It's kind of funny how we do it, but we're always trying to help make sure that new players can kind of help catch up, so to say, and can be a little bit more competitive and everything with us.
Yeah, what I used to do was I used to turn my bulk into like pseudo demo or starter decks, and I would throw that at new players before some of the locals that I went to went belly up with their Digimon scenes. And the Digimon scene that I currently go to, it's really big on Thursdays, not super big on Sundays, and Sunday is the only time I actually have to play. So it is a little bit unfortunate that I get the smaller end, but usually if anyone comes in, I'm as welcoming as possible. I don't think I have any starter slash demo decks made from bulk on hand. I should probably consider fixing that, but I haven't really seen our Sunday scene spike in popularity, so maybe not. I'll probably just end up donating all of my bulk because it's getting to that time where I shouldn't be holding on to all of these cards the way I am. But that's a me problem. And it's a problem not everyone has. But it is unfortunate that going forward, I'm probably not going to be buying any sets, and I'm just going to be getting singles instead. One, because I'm trying to save up for a house, because houses are not cheap. And two, I just incurred a $1,500 car bill that I wasn't exactly anticipating. So, yeah, I'm still finding a way to support Digimon um, in some capacity and get the cards that I need to play the game, but booster boxes for me, unfortunately, is going to have to slow down um, just due to life circumstances. But
Yeah.
outside of that, like that's kind of where like I know my local peeps will help me out. So like not to try to like make it sound worse than it is. The whole point is like you said, we're willing to share with each other the cards that we need, especially on the lower rarity side, because they are not super valuable. So I'm not in fear of not being able to play the game just because I'm not going to be able to buy booster boxes for a while. That was what I was trying to get at. Not trying to sound negative about it or salty.
Yeah, because I know of like just past experience of playing other card games. Like Digimon community is like I'm pretty sure everyone's mentioned it before, but it's like it's just the fact that it's so nice that the community is as helpful as it is. Like the one when you go in person and everything. I mean, obviously the Facebook post one, that's like a whole different story. I don't really follow the Facebook page or anything like that, but to me, it's just like when you're actually in person and everything, like it's so refreshing compared to like all the other ones.
No, I get it. That's why it feels like Bandai wants to do more in-person events, which I think is fine. It's good, but right now they also don't have a whole lot of online events, and that's kind of hurting pretty hard because a lot of for like the past couple of years, Digimon was built up on the online scene and the online strength of it. And as we seen, we got what two events going all the way out till like June or June or January. Um And like the fact that we only have like what 5 big events, at least for North America, can't speak about the other regions. They usually get a lot less. Um, but the fact that it seems like competitively outside of maybe more store regionals popping up, the online scene is kind of fading because Bandai's not supporting it as much, which I think is sad. That's my bread and butter. And I get not everyone's that way, but I think having both options and supporting both options better is always good. Instead of supporting the or the in-store play more and then leaving all of the online players to be high and dry. I don't necessarily think that's super cool, especially when it doesn't really cost them anything to run the online scene.
Yeah, like not trying to get into the whole side tangent or anything, but uh, I used to play online and everything, but then what was it, like 2 years ago? Like it was just like it seemed like every single tournament there was like always somebody that got caught last minute that was like cheating on the webcam tournaments and everything, and it always kind of just put a sour taste in my mouth. It's like I don't want that to happen to me, that I lose to somebody who cheated like very first round, and then like just affects my entire thing, and then they only get caught last minute, like at the towards the very end. It's like, and there's nothing they could do about it because it's like, oh, we're so far in, we can't just magically change the results of everybody that ever played against that person. So it's just like, I don't know if maybe it's just because of all the cheating that's happened online. It's maybe why Bandai doesn't want to try to do online. I don't know if that's the case, but
No, it's very much not the cheating thing. Like Digimon's cheat community is like, I'll just call it a cheat community. It's borderline non-existent anymore because like the prizes for the most part haven't really been drastically worthwhile to cheat, because usually cheating is more rampant when the prizing gets better, which I guess is like, it sounds worse than it is, but like I think our prizes are fine. It's just not like so extra uber valuable to where it warrants cheating like other games. Like there was a big story all over YouTube on a Magic the Gathering channel where it was just one of the most blatant examples of cheating. And this was an in-person event, mind you. So cheaters are going to cheat no matter if it's online or in person. It doesn't matter. But I like the fact that we had borderline no stories of people cheating for probably a solid year and a half, I would say is a pretty good sign that we're not really in the cheat stage. Like we're so far past cheating where it's just, it doesn't matter anymore. Um,
yeah, I will say I haven't heard anything either for the past year and a half. So it's like kind of glad I don't hear anything like that happening. So
yeah, like the magic cheat was so blatantly funny because it was on stream too, and it was so painfully obvious to everyone. It was hilarious. Like the person literally had the card in their lap. They shuffled their hand underneath the table to pick up the card in their lap. It was so bad. But yeah, that's Magic the Gathering in a nutshell. They've always had a cheating problem, but again, that's because they feel like the prizing is worth enough for them to warrant cheating. At least that's my perspective. I don't cheat. I don't feel like I need to cheat. Um, so I can't even say like why people cheat to begin with, but that's just the basic rationale that I like to go with.
yeah,
So, but yeah, no, I totally get like there is a disconnect between in person versus online. It's just I am always an advocate for accessibility, so I like both options because if I don't have a place to travel, I at least want to play online to still have that ability to get my competitive fix. And this sign up that happened this past weekend was like super extra sweaty. They usually all are super extra sweaty. Um, and if you're like anywhere outside of the loop or you miss it by like a half hour, you basically can't play competitively, especially if you don't have that online or in person scene. So I do know, like, as of right now, stores are starting to send out and get acceptance letters for their store regionals. I do have the store regional in my state. It is a 2-hour drive to get there, so it's not necessarily the closest thing to me, but I'm probably going to go to that as the only competitive event that I'm going to be playing in for the whole year. And it's not necessarily to play competitively. It's more to support my friend because he helps run that scene. And it's an excuse to go over and see him. So, but yeah, I decided, I guess this is a good segue. I decided I'm taking a step back from competitive Digimon because I don't exactly agree with the current state of the meta. I think this game is not as fun as it used to be at a high competitive level. And I've just found myself growing more and more frustrated with it. So there's my big announcement on what I decided to do, because I did run a Facebook poll on it.
Yeah, and I think I saw that too. And I know I had like a moment like about 2 years ago where I kind of felt like for me Digimon was a drag, so I kind of stepped away from locals for like a couple months and everything. And like I felt better when I came back into it and everything. It's not something I was like forcing myself to do or anything. It's just something I did because I wanted to.
Well, so for me, it's not necessarily like I don't. It's part of it is a little bit of burnout, but it's not entirely burnout because outside of like testing and locals and streaming and whatnot, like I don't play in overly exuberant amount of Digimon to where it really is burnout. It's just more of my designer brain plus my competitive brain are at odds with the current state of the game, and I do not find the high level decks to be anywhere remotely fun. So just to kind of like pull this aside, I was talking with one of my buddies. I'm gonna leave him unnamed. They know who they are if they're gonna hear the quote. But I was talking with them about the state of the game and my personal qualms with it. And let me see if I could find the quote. It was through messaging. Ah, yes, here it is. Okay, so just for a little bit of context, I was asking him about a specific deck because I was curious. I know he's a really good player on this specific deck. So I was reaching out to him to see, like, hey, got any advice? Because I'm currently thinking about building it just for fun. And he's thinking from a more competitive mindset about playing the deck. And basically, because I was talking about like a more casual version of the deck, and he's talking about a more competitive one. And I picked his brain about his mentality on the current state of the game. He thinks the game's healthy. Again, I'm not trying to doom post or anything. I think the game is fine. I just personally have issues with it. And I asked him, what did I ask him? I had it and then I lost it. So oh, yeah. So I asked him, how does he go about building a deck? Like, this is not really a hardcore meta deck, it's like a softcore meta deck. So it was about deck building, and I basically asked him, like, how do you go about building, um, turning a rogue deck into something competitive? And his quote was, the competitive state of the game forced me to build the deck in a way to make it as unfun for my opponent as possible. This is how you play competitive right now. So that quote stuck with me because I find it to be 100% true. In order for you to play the game at a high competitive level, you have to make your deck as unfun and unfair as humanly possible, which, like, yes, that's the goal of competitive stuff, but like it doesn't feel good. And that leads into my issues with the game. Some people like that high power level of like craziness. Just ask any Yu-Gi-Oh player because they're all masochists. Um, but and there are a lot of like ex Yu-Gi-Oh people in Digimon, so to me it makes sense why some people be like, "Oh, it's not tier limit format, so if the game's in a good spot." And I'm just like, that's such a bad metric to measure by. It's crazy. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, no. I saw a couple of videos and everything, and there was like a player how he's talking about uh how he was trying to keep the mindset of his Yu-Gi-Oh experience separate from the Digimon experience because he just thought it was like hurting his experience playing the Digimon trading card game. And even like just not even just Digimon, it was like he was kind of had that same aspect, like keeping the Yu-Gi-Oh mentality out of other besides Digimon as well, like One Piece or Lorcana and everything. He's like he was just saying that like, the mentality he had from Yu-Gi-Oh was just a bad thing he was accidentally carrying over into other TCGs.
Yeah, no, it definitely is, but like we draw a lot of comparisons to Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh at this point because like Digimon's resource system compared to a lot of other games is very loose, especially since it became looser when we got all of these abilities to just ignore the memory gauge entirely. So it's just like we have a resource system but are barely using it, but it's there still to kind of try to keep the game in check to a minimal degree. And like again, going back to that quote, the fact that we have to design our decks to basically ignore fundamental rules of the game and make it as unfun as possible uh doesn't necessarily leave me with the most inviting experience. And like that quote still kind of is sticking with me because like coming from the competitive aspect, it's like yes, that's what you have to do, but coming from like a designer aspect, no, that's not going to have good engaging gameplay in the long run for like the greater health of the game. And that's where like Dragon Ball Masters is right now, where like the game is just woefully unfun at any competitive level that like their community basically stopped growing and they have to figure out a way for it to stop bleeding. Like I'm not saying that game's in that bad of a state. I don't know, I don't play it, but that's just my example of like yeah, when a game gets to a certain power level threshold, it becomes not only not fun to play at the high competitive levels, but
It makes it harder for new people to try to join in.
yes. And that's my big fear is because I want people to come into the game and I want them to have fun. But when somebody rolls up with Sakuyamon and then combos them turn two and ruin locks them out of the game and then kills them the following turn, is that really that fun?
To me, no, not necessarily, especially if I'm on the receiving end of that.
Right, and there's a lot of decks that do that. So I guess this is a good segue and transition point into the meta because we do have BT20 metadata outside of Worlds. Obviously, we have two events. We have the TAC Oceania regionals that happened on March 29th, and then we also have the Core TCG Pasadena regionals that happened on March 30th. So pretty close to each other, at completely opposite sides of the world. So I am going to bring up the Pasadena, or not the Pasadena, um, the TAC regionals data first. So we could all have a nice good look at that. Not exactly the best screen for it, but we will make do. All right.
That is the Oceania, correct?
Yes, TAC is Oceania. So their event was an offline event, 111 players, and the archetype breakdown is as follows for their top 16. How many rounds was this? This probably would have been like 7 rounds, I think. Um, But yeah, so their archetype breakdown is as follows. You have 4 Virus Imperial, 4 Royal Knights, 2 Gallant, 2 Sakuya, 1 Magnamon, 1 Fenrir Lugamon, 1 Ancient Garurumon, and 1 Galaxy Engine. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different decks in top 16. Again, it's not a bad spread. Lots of different playable decks, but again, going into it, as you can see, there's going to be a couple of common trends between what a lot of these decks are doing. Some of them I've already mentioned, so I'm probably not going to repeat that. But yeah, so as far as what won the event, it was Sakuyamon. This Sakuyamon deck was doing something a little bit different than the other Sakuyamon decks because it was actually splashing in off-brand level 4s. So this deck was splashing in Gatomon. The deck already was using Starmon for barrier, but they're using Gatomon for barrier as well. Plus it has a security effect and interacts with security, so it's not terrible. Then they also have the Sukamon. So that is the security Sukamon with the on delete of just more DP minusing. And the reason why they're using that is to DNA into Shakuamon for more protection. So they're not even running the Ace for the level 5, the Tau Ace. It's just completely unnecessary for how the new Sakuyamon wants to play because the new Taumon, the BT17 one, is just significantly better than anything else. And it's kind of crazy. Then they are running a little bit higher on the level 6s because they're running not only just Sakuyamons and Sakuyamon X, but they're also running some maid modes. And then they're sacrificing 1 Volder Arm slot for that, and they're still running a pretty healthy option suite. So yeah, it's interesting that they're teching in Shakuamon and maid mode, but the deck is so strong because of its base combo play, it just works. Oh, interesting. They're not running Digivolution plugin, so that is one thing to note. They're not running Digivolution plugin. Virus Imperial is doing Virus Imperial things. It's just OTK. Like, it's just let me build up into Virus Imperial. Nothing really special there.
Can I say something real quick about this Sakuya deck?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's a little interesting that they're using the Amber memory option card. Now, I understand, maybe it's there to grab the Ruin mode, but why wouldn't you run the black-yellow one? Because you're running a couple of black cards, I mean.
So first, it's a yellow-based option because they're running the yellow training, so that way it's searchable off of yellow training.
Okay.
2, they're still running yellow memory boost, so it's just another memory boost to run alongside it to increase the consistency. And then 3, Amber memory boost still grabs everything in the deck, so it doesn't really matter. So okay. The big thing is they're using Amber memory boost instead of Digivolution plugin S, I think.
Yes.
So that's a pretty interesting choice, I would say. But I mean, hey, they got first place, and it shows that even without Digivolution plugin S, which was on a lot of Japanese players like wishlist for bans and restrictions, the deck can still function because of how strong, I guess, the Taumon is.
I think it's also just a lot of the cards play a lot of option cards for free, so it's just flooding your field with a bunch of option cards when your opponent there's like only like 3 cards maybe that could interact with option cards, and none of those 3 are remotely even close to being meta play or anything. So it's like your opponent has no way to interact with those options. So next turn you could just pop off with those.
Yeah, I mean, as I've kind of already alluded to, unstoppable free value to do free things for free is really good because why bother paying for why bother paying for your cards when you could just play them for free, Evo for free, play more cards for free. It's just free value on top of free value on top of high levels of combo play because like you're going to be killing their Digimon, spawning tokens, locking them out of the game, like all at the same time for borderline nothing. Like again, that just goes into my qualms and the patterns on what makes a competitive deck good at this point in time. And then Imperial is, again, just more value on top of value because the Wormmon Shadramon combo. Like, that's just nuts. It is interesting to note that, like, their spicy tech card of this deck is Karada for more draw and discard, so higher levels of consistency. And then their other tech card is Salamon. I don't actually know why. I think it's just a recursion tool. So that's probably the reason why Salamon is a one of. But yeah, Virus Imperial took second. Magnamon. I don't think Magnamon had any changes. Um, no. So they stopped running Hon. No, they stopped running Honkunmon. From BT18, I think. I play the card so much, I should know it.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
think it's BT18.
yeah. So they stopped playing the Honkunmon for Mega Seadramon X because Mega Seadramon X you don't need the X antibody to actually make it work. And it's just a inheritable. You can't my target attack can't be changed, which is what they were using the Honkunmon for. But it also has the upside of returning a level 4 or lower to the bottom of their deck. And you don't even need Mega Seadramon or X Antibody to work with either of those abilities, which is crazy. This deck's actually leveraging Cool Boy, Omekamon, and a little bit of Omni X. So I think that's kind of a spicy tech. They're also playing Jessamon GX Ace because it's an ace to go on top of Magnamon X, which should have the protections. So, like, they're just using Magnamon X and Medieval to kind of like toolbox level 7s. I think that's kind of neat. But again, Magnamon X, big, hard to deal with body that now you have to anticipate aces for, which makes it significantly harder to deal with. And
Yeah,
yeah.
plus also Jesmon GX.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, plus also Jesmon GX's effects. It's not revolved around DNA digivolving either, so kind of works out because I mean you got Magnamon X, you got Omnimon X. Anybody? I think that one's still treated as Royal Knight. Yeah, it's still treated as Royal Knight. You got normal Magnamons in there, so I mean you have a few Royal Knight cards, so to say.
Yeah, and then they're running the Cool Boy to tie some of the Royal Knight stuff together. So it's just a very oppressive deck. It's always been, and it looks like it just got better. Um, then we have Royal Knights at 5th place because 4th place was another Virus Imperial. We're not going to go over all the decks, but just kind of give you a good glimpse into what you should be expecting out of some of the top decks. So it is just Royal Knights as we know it, just now with aces and Cool Boy and the new broken option. Um, yeah, so it's kind of it. It's still good, hyper oppressive because, again, playing big bodies for cheap early on, setting up good early free value with the options to enable like Omekamon into Omni X into like winning the game way earlier than was ever possible before is kind of just nuts. So that's Royal Knights. It literally just turned into a faster clock deck, which I think is scary. Gallantmon, I don't think Gallantmon had any changes. No, Gallantmon really didn't have any innovations. We're just actually playing with the BT19 cards. That's pretty much it. Not exclusively the BT19 cards, but the few that are actually good and playable is what we're playing. Then we got more Sakuyamon. I think the biggest surprise is Ancient Garurumon. So it is red floodgate low ends.
Red package.
Yeah, it's the red package. I think the deck is fine. It feels very fair, but like the inclusion of Medieval Gallantmon is really good because Medieval Gallantmon's good enough to go into everything. And like the deck, because of the red package, was never really playing Promo Lobo, so it didn't really impact it. And it's kind of like filling not really the Mirage hole in everyone's hearts, but he's at least doing something a little bit similar offensively. He's not obviously that much better controlling, but offensively he's better. And like where this deck is shining is leveraging the floodgates that it's running comboed with the draw pack, like the draw engine between the Ukomons and the Mochimons, and then just good old blue hybrid stuff. So not really anything special or noteworthy there. I think like the Wisteria is a cute touch because it could search for the medieval. And it also searches for your red option or your red rookies too. So I think that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
What else do we got? Fenry Lucamon. This is Postban's. Is this Postban's Fenry or is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
This is
Postban's
one.
Fenry.
Yeah, it's the one focusing on BT14 Fenrir Lugamon.
Yeah, which I was playtesting with it. It's fine. It's just the same OTK deck that we know and love. Or do we love OTKs? I'll pretend like we love the OTKs.
I would say the BT14's a little. I like the BT14 version a little bit more than the Takamikazuchi version, at least my personal opinion. So
yeah, so the new innovation that Fenry is utilizing is Shine Greymon Ruin mode for when it can't to OTK. It just tries to use Shine to lock the opponent out. Yeah, and because it doesn't DNA, it has a worse time using Scramble, but Scramble's still really good. It still DNAs with Dino Beamon. Never mind. So I'm being a goober. But yeah. So it also is using the new Lugamon, the new Lugarmon, and Codecracker and Hacker Judge as like the new cards in the deck. Outside of that, it's literally the same old good stuff we were running like in BT16. Yeah, because BT17's when Taka came out. So it's just an updated version of what we had in BT16. Pretty good. Pretty strong. Not going anywhere. Galaxy? Galaxy's boring. They're just using Omnimon, more blue good stuff, top end with Invisimon, Hexablaumon. This deck's actually leveraging a Jesmon, which I find interesting, but yeah, literally nothing here that's we haven't seen before. Yeah, that's it for TAC. Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's move on to Carta Magica. Or not Carta Magica, Core. It's Core. I lied. I'm the goober. Alright, moving on to Core. I'm just setting it up right now. So this is found on Eggman Events website. The other one was found on Digital Gates Open. So in case anyone's actually wondering where these deck lists are coming from. So this is a little bit different of a spread, but we're going to see a lot of same decks. If you want to go over the deck spread, you can.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it because I don't see it on Eggman's events. The most recent one I see is...
Did you hit refresh?
Yeah, I did.
Did you check our chat? Boom, because I posted it to you directly.
Yeah, give me a second. I'm trying to pull it up now. Yes, visit the site. Yeah, okay, now I got it. Here we go. Sorry about that.
Yeah, good.
So for the top 16, we have 4 Royal Knights, 3 Leviamon X's, 3 Galamon X's, 2 Galaxy, 1 UG Imperialmon.
Yeah, blue-green.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was going to say, what the heck is U for? But and then
U is blue because B is black.
Ah, that makes more sense. Okay, and then we got 1 red-purple Imperial Jamon, 1 Sakuyamon X, and then 1 Dominimon. Which one's Dominimon? I don't remember.
Dominimon's 3 Great Angels.
Ah, yeah, duh. Of course. How could I forget?
Yeah. The interesting thing to note was this was 375 players. I believe that is our current cap. 9 rounds of Swiss.
Yes.
And the deck that came out on top, not by record, well, not by like win-loss record, but by like player record, was Imperial Dramon, because you have like literally what, a four-way tie for first. So we technically had a four-way
Yeah.
tie for first, but Imperial came out on top due to tiebreakers. So there was no true winner. Everyone lost at least once. Um, and Blue Green Imperial, this is post bans. Um, and it's the same exact stuff as what we have been seeing. They're just not running Stigmon, the starter deck, at 4 of. North America, looking at the past data, wasn't running this as a 4 of. It was literally just Japan that was running this as a 4 of, so keep that in mind. And instead, we're just running Lydramon. Shocker, who would have guessed? Um, Outside of that, literally nothing has changed. Still using the Hexablow, still using the Medieval, not Gallant or not Imperial Dramon cards, but too good of generic staples to not run. Um, and then
I
all
think
the
it
other
is.
good stuff we love.
I do think it is weird they're not using the Paladin mode Ace at least, because I feel like that can be like really helpful to like get out of situations at times.
I
Just
think it's
personal opinion for me.
because Paladin Ace is a little clunky and hard to use. Like it's only in very specific situations where that card's actually seeing any real play. I think it is a better card to run because of Royal Knights. So like it's not gonna, like, the big other problem is it's a Ace Digimon that doesn't win you the game. And what I mean by win you the game is like disrupt the opponent enough to make them lose the game, because of the ace. So it's just like if they have enough memory to eat the 3 memory that um, Imperial Dramon could be gaining you, then Imperial Dramon's not stopping you from losing the game at all. That's the big problem.
Right.
So instead, they're just leveraging the fighter mode ace, which could negate a lot of access memory gain from the opponent's ace Digimon on top of the old fighter mode to act as like pseudo aces with progenitor. But yeah, so it's just Imperial. Like, we've been playing this deck as is pretty much since BT16/17, because it's got some nominal updates, but outside of that, nothing like insanely crazy. Um, Second place, we got Leviamon X. Shocker, this deck has also not changed at all. It is borderline the exact same deck we've been running since like EX, technically BT15. Was that when Levia X came out? Yeah. So it's the same deck
Yeah.
we've been running since BT15. Like, literally almost no changes. Outside of Latmon X, I guess that's the biggest, newest inclusion.
Well, I think technically BT16 is the one with the dog package
It,
came out like to its full extent, so to say. Because
I
I think
mean, they
before it,
just
Leviamon.
they just have a base Dobermon that's actually good enough to see any semblance of play. But like the rest of the majority of the deck is what we've been playing with since like BT15, because the Dober X, Serb X, uh, Levia X, Levia, like all that stuff, like the core and heart of the deck is still there. It's just literally Latmon and Dobermon that we got in like BT16 that really did any kind of things to change the deck, and then it's just still overtly incredibly strong that people shouldn't discredit it. It was at Worlds, so uh, take that for what you will. But yeah, it's just another deck that's trying to ignore the memory system the best it can, digivolve up and lock the opponent out of the game, while also having potential of OTK. So good stuff there. Any other surprises we could see? Is this Galaxy
I
deck
was gonna
doing?
say, I was gonna say the third place Royal Knights deck. It. I'm looking at this and this seems a little controversial to have. They have 2 of the red Gatsumons. The Floodgate can't play Digimon by effects.
Yeah, you don't care about that for you because you're reducing your play cost. So the only time you actually care about that is when you're going for your Omnimon turn, and that's about it.
What about, does the guy have the option cards though? Yeah, he has for the Royal Knights of the Purge as
Yeah,
well.
so again, he's okay. Like you're okay with not using those right up off the riff, um, or off the rip. Man, I butchered that one. Um, but you're just gonna swing with the rookie. Like it's there to stop the opponent. So it goes back to what I was saying earlier, where if you're not running any kind of a floodgate, you're 100% dedicated to your like degenerate combo, and you have to be running a floodgate if you're not 100% committed to your degenerate combo. Unless your deck has enough space to run it anyway. And like floodgates, no matter what floodgate you're running, as long as it's one of the more impactful ones, that's gonna win you games more often than harm you.
Yeah.
So it's just like this is gonna stop the Sakuyamons, the Leviamons, the stuff that it actually has a really hard time dealing with, especially if it's able to move fast enough. Same thing with like the like just anything that could play Digimon for free, like purple decks. It's just a very powerful floodgate to slow down the opponent just enough for you to be able to grab back that control.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's my perspective on the Gatsumon. Because I was messing around with like so when I was at nationals, I was beating Galaxy decks left and right, taking them down pretty easily, literally because of the floodgates. Like that's how important they are, and the Galaxy decks don't necessarily have the same leverage that Mirage did with floodgates. They're finding ways to put them in. As you can see with what place was this? Ninth place. So as you can see with like ninth place, they're finding ways to fit the floodgates in because the floodgates are that important to run. Like so, just a piece of meta advice: if you're trying to go into this current meta environment, you have to have floodgates. Like, especially if you're like a tier 2 deck, you have to have floodgates because you're just not going to be able to compete with any of the tier 1 decks otherwise. The Sakuyamon deck, this is probably the more traditional. Oh, they're using Wizardmon. Interesting. I think Wizardmon's a really weird pick.
And
Like
plus,
I get it because of the data synergy, but like you kind of lose that once you go up into your level 7s. This is also running a maid mode, so maybe maid mode is the future. They're also being funny and running a blast fire. So I think that's absolutely hilarious. I mean, it makes sense
yeah, that
because blast fire plus pause plugin or the um
I think there's inheritables that
BT17
also.
Sequoia. Yeah, like the inheritables will DP reduce. It puts their Digimon in DP reduction range of your DP reduction.
Yeah, Renamon X, that's one, and then also the Cubimon also does the DP reduction as well. Okay,
Yeah,
so that kind of makes sense. I mean,
and then
because how much of a cost is it?
One of the Sakuyamons minus 6 is K also.
Yeah,
Does
and it
maid
being a four
mode?
cost option.
Yeah,
I mean,
maid
being a
mode
four
does
cost
not.
option too. It's like you definitely will have the memory with that in this stack for sure.
Oh, interesting. Sakuyamon X can go on top of maid mode. Just realized that.
Yeah, as long as it just doesn't have X antibody trait, it could go on top of any of the Sakuya name cards. Which
Yeah.
could they? Correct me if I'm wrong, but did the one that got hit limited to one? Is that one still treated as a Sakuyamon? I can't remember for sure.
Sakuyamon. Nothing in Sakuyamon got limited to one.
No, no, it was the blue version of it from
Oh,
EX4.
Kazuha.
Yeah, Kazuha.
Um, I don't think it works. I think it's treated as if it had Sakuyamon in its name, but it's not. I don't think it works. It might, but you're not running that card anyway anymore because you don't need to.
Yeah.
I could double check on the Kazuha because I have a deck editor up here.
Here we go.
Um,
Okay, Kazuha is. Yeah, it's having treated as having Sakuyamon in its name.
Yeah, it might be. I don't know. I honestly am not putting that much brain power enough to care about that stipulation if it exists or not, because it just doesn't matter. Because people aren't going to be running Kazuhamon anyway, because it's limited to one, so there's no point on trying to do the whole Tau loop thing. And that's the
Yeah,
only reason why people were running it to begin with, was to enable Tau loop.
yeah. To me, it's just like I don't know. The philosophy I have is like if it's hit to one, it's like it's good enough to have in your deck. To me, that's kind of just the mentality I have when it comes to like the whole restriction list. It's like, but I mean, I can understand why like they're trying to focus more on just pure Sakuyamons though.
Yeah. But anyway, then the last deck we're going to be talking about for the meta report is Three Great Angels, which this Three Great Angels deck is pretty interesting because they're leveraging some really weird stuff. Not really like super weird, because you still have like your Dominimon and then your Three Great Angels, but they are running Cherubimon Ace and Shadow Seraphi Ace, which are arguably the two best Three Great Angels. And then they're running no other aces, and instead they're running Medieval Gallant because, again, Medieval Gallant's just that good. He belongs in borderline almost every deck that could squeeze space for him. And then the funny thing is Medieval Gallant works with Chaosmon Folder Arm, so like that's kind of insane. To where you could easily get like Dominimon plus Cherubimon, then Chaos Folder, and then you have the partition that'll spit out the Cherubi to get its on play effect again. So like there's a lot of good combo and power play between Domini and Folder Arm. Then they're running like I think the weirdest card in the deck is Rapidmon, the starter deck one, but it's not that weird because they're just trying to use Patamon to Digivolve into it for free. And then they're running Pillowmon as their Floodgate. Um, so even though, like, yes, you play Digimon by card effects, it's easier to get rid of your own Floodgates. Uh, so that way it harms the opponent more than it harms you. So, but again,
Yeah,
you're seeing a lot of these decks tech in Floodgates because they borderline have to. Like, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. The game's getting to the point where you have to have any sort of Floodgate to slow the opponent down. Otherwise, they're just going to walk all over you because of how silly combo play is enabled in this game at this point. But yeah, so we could see a repeating pattern on some of these top decks perform. So like it's pretty easy to see where the rest of the meta is going to go leading up into BT21. So I guess this is going to spark the rest of the greater discussion on what is actually in BT21 and what do we expect to actually be good in BT21. And we could kind of start with the new starter decks. Because the starter decks I basically am considering part of BT21 because they're coming out at the same time.
yeah, and there's also cards in BT21 that work with this deck too, with the two starter decks as well, like the Secret Rare Tie.
Yeah, I still hate the fact that it's a secret rare. Asking newer players to buy the starter decks and then buy into the set hoping to get a secret rare is a little dishonest, but or not dishonest, disingenuous. So, but yeah, the starter deck I think is going to be good. I think the starter deck, it is interesting that I believe we're only going to be getting the Wargreymon Ace as the mega for starter deck. What is it? 2020? Yeah, and then Metal Garurumon Ace is going to be the one for starter deck 21. So those are the only two megas of the deck. And I think like it thematically it works because if anyone watched the OG show, uh Ty and Matt's Digimon are the only ones that actually go Mega throughout the entirety 50 episodes. The others get their Megas post adventure. So it makes sense that the starter decks, those are the only two Megas. And like the direction of the deck that it wants you to play is going to be like level 5 Rush. So all of the level 5s of the deck have this ability for Alliance. So that way we could leverage basically trying to spam out as many level 5s, give them rush, and then have Alliance to be able to swing for high numbers as level 5s. So that's kind of where I think the direction of the adventure deck wants to go based on some of the cards that we have. Because what's the card that's enabling rush?
That's going to be the Matt and TK from the BT21 starter deck, or not BT21, the ST21 starter deck.
Yeah, so that's the card that's going to be used to give them all rush. So that way, again, you're just spamming out level 5s, give them a rush, give them alliance, start punching as hard as you possibly can.
Yeah,
That's
I
kind
do
of the
think it
way I
is.
feel like the deck wants to go. And then like leverage the fact that you do have two aces that you could use with the adventure trait, so that way if they try to do anything, you just ace in response.
Yeah, because I'm trying to see here. Yeah, because they could just the aces could evo on top of any level 5 with the ace or hero trait. Funny enough.
Uh the Metal Gurumon's just adventure. And the War Greymon is also leveraging hero, which is trying to be its own thing. I don't know how good that's gonna
Oh,
be.
okay, yeah. Digimon Dev then did not translate this properly because I see a picture on the card where it does say adventure trait, but the text effect for whatever reason says hero. So that's my bad.
Yeah, they probably just copy and pasted it from the War Grey.
Yeah, probably did.
But yeah, so I think Adventure has some competitive viability. It's got a lot going for it. I just don't know how good it's going to be in the grand scheme of things.
Well, I know some players were talking about doing like a rookie rush with the deck, and technically speaking, there is two actual floodgate archetypes in those decks, being the Gomamon and the uh Tentamon. Because Gomamon is the memory blocker, and Tentamon is, I think it's the Evo reducer, if I remember correctly.
Literally the two best floodgates. So just because like the adventure deck is also being able to leverage two of the best floodgates for the current meta environment, if it managed to find a way to squeeze in the last floodgate, which is can't play Digimon by effects, then like it has all the floodgates it needs. Um, but yeah, no, those are the two best floodgates, which are insane. So yeah,
Yeah,
and then because everything's digivolving off of adventure trait, you're basically a multicolored deck. Um, the only problem with that is you don't have the ability to use the memory boosts and training cards as cleanly, but I think it has cards to make up for that.
yeah, I think it's like the here I'm trying to pull up one right now, but it's
It's a
because
believer in our friendship. So that's basically the equivalent of memory boost.
yeah,
Um, and then
is there
what's the
one in
red
the
one?
Greymon?
Our Courage United, but that's doing something different. Our Courage United is like it's a good card because it's another consistency tool, and then its delay ability is also what's enabling you to spam out the level 5 Digimon. So between those two options, you already have a good like you have decent consistency for a multicolored deck, which is more than most other multicolored decks. And if you really wanted to, you could even throw Ukomon in. Who cares? Because you also have Island of Adventure and Janai's House to boost your rookies' numbers. So that way Ukomon can be hitting harder than it normally was expected to.
Or even should be even allowed to?
Yeah, so it's gonna live through security a little bit easier. And then I think the deck wants to leverage Sunomon for that because like if you are using Ukomon in that shell, then Ukomon dies, Sunomon's on delete ability activates to be able to return an adventure traded card from your trash to your hand. So like I could see a lot of potential in the adventure stuff.
Yeah, especially the fact that it's just eight or return one Digimon card. Okay, so it's never mind. For some reason, I thought it was gonna be like option card or tamers, but thankfully not. That would be so stupid broken.
I thought it said adventure, like not adventure Digimon. I thought it was just adventure.
Oh, that maybe it's a mistranslation on that. No, it
Um,
does specifically say one
one
Digimon card
Digimon with
with.
adventure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's still pretty good. Swing with a
Oh yeah,
rookie,
for sure.
die, Ukomon swing, bring back the rookie that just died back to your hand. Like,
Oh, you got rid of my floodgate? Here, let me go ahead and just quickly add that back real quick.
yeah, and because Ukomon is a magnet, otherwise, like, you're going to be gaining so much value and advantage over the opponent the longer the game goes. Like, it's kind of insane. So I think, like, Adventure has potential. Let's look at BT21.
Let's see here.
I actually have been experimenting with apps. I think apps has some potential. It's just going to require the right tech cards because the majority of the deck kind of does make itself because it is a new archetype and like they do give you pretty much enough tools to have the full deck available or a full deck available. It's just it's going to need a little bit of outside help and whatever that little bit of outside help will be is going to be the deciding factor if the deck is actually going to be like tier 2 or tier 1. I think like at worst the deck is probably a solid tier 2. It can compete with a lot of things. I don't know how fast it's going to end up being to consider it like an actual contender for tier 1. So like what I would define tier 2 is basically all of the good decks but they're just too fair. And then all of the tier 1 decks are basically something that's overtly broken with the game or like the card is just that like a card in the deck is that overtly strong that it's hard carrying the entire deck.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the whole link cards and everything. I need to see actual gameplay of how the actual link mechanic works because it still kind of has me a little bit confused and everything. But eventually, I'll get it down. I
Yeah,
think one
so
deck.
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think one deck that might be under everyone's radar, especially since Digicon has probably got to be the whole Dragon Ken deck, or also the Medusamon.
Yeah, I
Because I
think
mean,
like just because of her ability, that's giving her enough competitive viability alone because she has security attack 1 and then progress basically makes her attack safe into the opponent's security. That's kind
it
of
just
nuts.
ignores it just ignores aces, and that was Red's biggest weakness was the whole aces. So I mean, this Dragon Can deck actually does give Red a really big chance to come back and shine again. So
The big thing is how fast you're able to get up into Medusa and swing with your Medusa. That's
well,
going to be the true test.
they even have a Gigimon too that kind of in a way pseudo acts like X antibody as well because it says when opponent's security stack is removed, one of your Digimon can digivolve into a reptile or dragon can reducing its cost. So and this is a when attacking effect too. Or no, it's just a your turn effect. So it's like you could do it during mid attack, and I don't know if Owen Dreadnoughts have an effect of during your attack you could maybe suspend it and delete someone on the field. Because I know like
Um, when an
because
opponent's security is removed. So, like, to get the Gigimon mid attack, you have to be removing the security mid attack. Like, on swing, remove security. Does Medusamon actually do anything with
it has
that?
like a petrified ability that allows you to uh make I can't I'm trying to
Oh,
remember
yeah,
how it
during
was in
all
the cards.
turns. Oh, actually, it would have to be on the level 5. So, the level 5 would have to remove the security to proc the Gigi to go into the Medusa mid attack for cheaper. Um,
Yeah,
When
because I
an
know there's like
attacks
the Owen.
target, so when an attacks target changes, trash the top card of the opponent's security. Okay. So how is the attack target changing? It does it have?
Raid.
Yeah, but does it have raid? It has
Thought it did.
progress. It doesn't have raid though.
Let's see here. No, it's not the Cyclomon. What about this Cyberdramon? Where are you, Cyberdramon? There you are.
Yeah, but
Uh,
how are you getting
no.
Cyberdramon underneath it?
No,
that's kind of
Cyberdramon
like,
doesn't have raid.
does Owen do it? No, Owen suspends and then gives one of their Digimon piercing. So like I feel like not to
I
get
think
too
there's an
sidetracked.
older. Oh, I think there's an older Owen Dreadnought that allows you to delete something on the field, and you combine it with like the whole what is it, like the petrified ability that it has?
Yeah, but you're not
Like,
getting that until it's already too late. Like the whole idea for like where competitive Digimon is, like, and I know everything I'm saying is in asterisks of competitive Digimon, but unfortunately competitive Digimon is in a state where casual just doesn't exist. So, um like because the power gap actually is that large. Like if anyone's in denial that it's not that large, like go play against a competitive deck with a more casual deck and you'll understand. Um But like, so the big thing is we have the Gigimon that wants to change your Digimon mid attack, but the deck doesn't have any tools to change mid attack to actually get that effect off. She has like an option that I'm not seeing that does that.
maybe,
Uh,
but
no,
that's
the
just
option just triggers when a security is removed. So like she has a good tool that she just can't actually use because there's no raid or anything to combine it with. At least not as of right now. Maybe that's like a
yeah,
card for a future
future.
set. So like
Yeah,
maybe
that's
that's making
potential.
my opinion less highly on Medusa. Like I think she's a good card. She's very strong. It's just we need efficient and effective ways to get up into her for essentially nothing. So again, that's where I think this deck is a little too fair and honest is the fact that it doesn't have the tools to be unfair and dishonest yet. It has the potential, just not quite there yet.
Yeah, because I mean, because versus like the Reptile and Dragonkin deck, I mean, there's also the Venmons, and that one kind of, when you look at it and consider all the old support, definitely looks like it could be the really good tier one deck for sure.
Uh
Theoretically speaking.
I think just the fact that they now have officially turned Galacti into an OTK deck, uh, that also is trying to like it's doing everything. It's checking all of the OTK boxes where it's just like, can I go up into them pretty quickly and efficiently? Yes, yes, you can. Um, Lychee has taught us that it is possible to like easily spawn out the level 5, for like almost next to nothing. Um, Thank you, Lychee, for that tech, by the way. Um,
Yeah, and that was
so
before
like,
the newer support.
yeah, it has um good removal to control the opponent. It has protection to keep itself around, and now it also has an OTK to win the game instantaneously, which the deck very severely lacked before any semblance of good damage output to be competitively viable. And now it has that damage output potential. So, yeah. Galacti's definitely looking to be a really strong contender. Again, I don't know how good it's actually going to be in practice, but on paper, it has the potential to be a tier 1 deck very easily. I think like the big thing is the tamer hate that it has is a little bit less viable now that hybrids kind of are taking a step backwards because of the bans and restrictions. Like, sure, we got a new Aldemon and a new Agunimon in this set, but I don't necessarily think that's going to really change the dynamic of red hybrids in a nutshell. It's just going to play the exact same way it has been, just now with these cards added to the toolbox. Maybe this will push more of an Emperor focused build. Um,
Yeah, because I know like there's a lot of the tamers don't have their megas in this and everything, and their promo cards. I'm not sure how we're getting them. Maybe they're box toppers or something, but I know there is a promo Emperor from earlier reveals.
yeah. Um, I think Cross is pretty much dead. Sorry, Cross fans. As long as Medieval Gallantmon is a card, you're not an actual deck. Um, Gamamon, I think, is kind of not great either. I think it's getting better, but I don't think it has the tools to really actually compete. It's still pretty slow, pretty clunky, and inefficient with a lot of what it's doing. I think it has the potential to clean itself up a little bit to be like tier 2, but I don't think it has the tier 1 capability. Um,
There is technically new armor form cards, but like armor cards, like there's a new V1 that allows you to evo for one of your armor forms for a reduced cost of one, and the
yeah,
new Magnamon.
they're just
I
trying
mean,
to do Armor Rush 2.0, but we all know that Magnemon's just going to use these as as a boost to itself and ignore the rest of the cards.
yeah. So it's like maybe Magnamon's going to be a little bit
Yeah,
more
no,
consistent now,
so
unfortunately.
yeah, Magnemon got better because that deck really needed to get better. Technically, the Imperial Dramon got better because they're now transitioning to using a blue green armor, and the new Lydramon is just a strict upgrade of the old one. So yeah, Wind Guardians I think is unplayable. I mean it's okay. So it's playable, just not good.
Not competitive.
Yes, it's not competitive. When I say something's unplayable, it's from the competitive lens. Um, I think Eximon's probably a solid tier 2 deck. Um, it got literally the best card that it needed to put everything online, which was the Dracomon X. The rest of the cards do not matter. Dracomon X is what's single-handedly saving the deck. That is the effect that it very severely needed. So I think like it's actually a tier 2 somewhat viable deck now.
Yeah,
Um
for sure. Because I know for me personally, that X or Dracomon X is going to easily replace like the well for me the red version of Dracomon, at least.
Yeah, I think Shine is still good just because Shine has so many tools. You could play them in so many different ways, whether it's control, OTK, whatever. So I think Shine is a solid deck. Three Musketeers, I think is still unplayable, like from a competitive standpoint. The apps that it got, which I think is funny that it's interacting with apps, but the apps that it got are good for the deck. It's just the deck was so bad before that, like, yes, it's giving it a severe boost, but that boost isn't necessarily nearly good enough to actually make me change my opinions in terms of the viability of it. Like it goes from like a grade D deck to maybe a D plus C minus. Like it's a whole letter boost, but not anything noteworthy because the letter was so low.
Yeah,
Um
I'm trying to look at the.
Gallantmon's obviously still gonna be meta, and we got more Gallantmon tools. Adventure we
I
already
don't think
talked
they're
about.
actually. I don't think they're actually Galamon tools. I think they're more actually Megidramon tools. Actually, weirdly enough,
Um
because like the Growlmon,
So
its
when I
alternative effect.
say it's like Gallant's getting an update, I mean anything that's actually interacting with Gallant. So you're not going to be touching the Megidramon like at all. Like
Okay,
sure you could try to spawn a Megidramon deck, but like all of these cards are just going to be good Gallant cards instead. So it's like the new rookie's really good because it's interacting again with Gallant, where you get to trash one card from your hand with the selected types to be able to draw two. Helps with the consistency because the deck really needed that. Um, then you have the new Growlmon, which does have an on delete of gain of memory, but you're not trying to use that. Does the Gilmon have that ability? It does. That's more of like a failsafe to anti-tempo the opponent. Like the inheritables on Gallant have never usually been that crazy good, so I'm not even concerned about these. It's just the fact that these cards can be used in Gallant.
now just out of curiosity, how do you feel about the Hunter cards that they did introduce with the Gumdramon?
Um, let me find what Gundramon's doing.
So
Gundramon's a good consistency tool. I think he's good for the deck. Um, like he forces the deck to be a little bit more, I guess in quotation mark, protagonist focused, because you have him that's working with the new stuff on top of his old stuff. So like this will change the deck to be more focused around Gumdramon and Arrestradramon, both lines. So I think that'll have some interesting innovations, but again, I don't know if it's unfair enough to be competitive at this point.
yeah, Because I
Because
mean,
did we
at
get
least with the level
a
4,
level 5 version of him?
we did, but it's not anywhere close to what the old one was doing.
Yeah, it's raid piercing. It can attack without suspending when you digivolve it, and then it gets plus 1,000. It's just very basic. Like,
Yeah. I mean, to me, like the level 4, the fact that it doesn't have the whole oh, if you have one or less tamers, like it'll just keep spamming out tamers for free. It's kind of interesting to me, at least.
so what Gundramon really needed was the ability when you're in your level 5 to not just automatically lose the game when your level 5 gets deleted, because the big problem is you have the save mechanic that's present on everywhere but the level 5. So it's like you put all of your resources into this Arrestor Dramon. The Arrestor Dramon isn't going to be winning you the game half the time. And then he dies, and then you lose all of the resources you worked really hard to build up. So that's the big pitfall um with Gumdramon, is the fact that the level 5, when it dies, you lose the game. Ghost got a little bit of an update, but Ghost, I mean, it's a really good card for them, but um minuscule. Like, the deck is still tier 2. Um what else do we have here? Um we talked about, I think we hit like almost all of them.
Everything.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else that we missed or glossed over. I guess technically the promos, but the promos don't matter. And we already hit on the promos like in previous episodes. Fish has got a single rookie update, which again, same thing like Ghostmon. The one card, it's good for them, but it's not going to change the whole dynamic of the deck to actually make it more competitively viable.
Yeah, same with like the rock mineral rookie too.
Yeah. So like, good stuff all around. I think this is a really fire set. It's just when it comes to like grand meta impact, basically what was already good gets better, and you have a couple of decent stuff that's forming into the tier 2 category, which I think is fine. Like, all of the Liberator stuff immediately on release is usually like tier 3 at worst, tier 2 at best. So it's just fringe outside of meta viability. Um, but yeah, it's looking to be a good set. A lot of hype around it. A lot of hype around it.
Yeah, I'm just kind of worried that the Galaxy deck's gonna just actually use this Medusamon, actually.
There's a lot that Galaxy can abuse because the package is like borderline broken.
Yeah, because like I know before the Galaxy didn't have any good other red cards besides the Apollomon and everything, and like Medieval Galamon, obviously, but you're not digivolving into medieval, so to say, most of the time. It's like meant as a hard play kind of thing. But
So,
like,
okay. So that's kind of my issue with Galaxy as a whole. Like, they alluded to it with Mirage, where it's just like Mirage is just such a good blue level 6. There's no real reason to run anything else but him. And with him basically axed to 1, Hexablaumon has creeped up to that same level of status. And I think, like the Galaxy engine, you just basically say, what's the most broken red or blue cards in the entire game, and let's run those. And like, it kind of eliminates the whole need and drive for their deck. So I could see a world where Galaxy literally just plays Medusa, and that's it. Like, that's the only time you'll actually see that card competitively.
yeah,
So
is
that's always my big fear with like engines, is like, yeah, you just play the same 50 card low or 40 card low end, and then change like your top end and tweak your options. So, yeah. Um but what are you most excited out of this set for?
So for me, as being a black player, I mean, I'm kind of excited for the Galaxy deck, honestly. Before, like, besides being OTK, okay, like, I might not even consider playing it as an OTK deck. I might still try to do it as control base or something, kind of give that a vibe and see how that works out. But I mean, I'm kind of excited that black actually has like another good deck that might actually be in the runs finally.
Uh, Fair. Black has usually struggled as a color. Like it feels like it's always been like the anti-meta color where it's just always it has good
There.
tools but nothing to make it overtly broken. And maybe this is what they needed to push it over the edge. So, I hope you got all your promo cards ready.
Oh, I did a long time ago. That's why I like to collect my playsets beforehand, because then I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, because right now the market is going crazy over some of like the future stuff. So like the arenas for All Force, that's most likely going to be a thing in BT22.
21? Two, yeah.
Yeah,
Because she does make an appearance, but it's like, yeah, she does make an appearance with All Force, technically speaking.
yeah. So that's why everyone's like maybe thinking that that'll be a thing. A lot of people are buying into the Omnimon hype because Nokia and Omnimon support. Diaboromon is gonna get a lot of hype. Diaboromon also could get hype from the villain set too. So like, there's just like if you this is where if you have Digimon lore knowledge on the different media that they're referencing, you're probably going to be better equipped to read the market trends more than your average person. So, knowing what's going to be supposedly coming out gives you the ability to speculate way more efficiently to be ahead of that curve.
Yeah, because I know that some people were thinking that the errata could, like, I don't think this should be spoilers because the game's like when did Cyber Sleuth even come out? Like 10 years ago, if not 15, 14 or something like that?
It feels like at least 10.
Yeah. No, because I think it was Hacker's Memory. That was one that came out 10 years ago. And then Cyber Sleuth came out 2 years before that. So 12 years, give or take. Like, I don't think this should be spoiler territory or anything, but I know some people were thinking that maybe the errata in uh, for BT22 is going to be like for an Eater's deck. But there technically is another character that actually does kind of study the whole Eaters and everything and helps errata do the whole Eaters thing, so to say. So I'm thinking that Arata's still going to be Diabormon support, and there's going to be a dedicated separate tamer besides Arata that is more for the Eaters deck.
Yeah,
So
it'll be interesting to see what comes of it. But, like, again, the whole point was knowing Digimon lore and knowing what's in the different medias gives you better leverage to be able to be more responsive towards the market to get what you need before things start spiking like crazy.
yeah, and if you guys want to try to get a head start on, like, try to get an understanding of Hacker's Memory of what could be good, I know currently right now on PlayStation, the if you have the PlayStation Plus, you could actually get Hacker's Memory for free from there.
Uh, good call out. Like that game is criminally underrated on how good it is. Easily one of the best Digimon games. Period. And I'm super pumped for the new one. But that's
Oh
just to
yeah,
be expected.
yeah, because I don't know if like the if the new Jesus, Time Stranger is even gonna be like, because I know like before, like if you had saved data on the hackers, like if you had saved data of Cyber Sleuth when you played Hacker's Memory, you kind of got a little bonus items and everything, like goggles and everything. So I don't know.
I doubt they're gonna be
I
connected.
doubt it, but it'd be cool if they did. Like, oh hey, we see you have play data from Hacker's Memory, so here's a little bonus outfit or something.
Yeah, I doubt it. I'm just wanting them to do proper tie-ins. Like, I mean, granted, yes, in every single Pokemon game, they don't add in a Pokemon trading card. They probably should, and they definitely could, but um, I think Bandai could very easily manage their multimedia stuff way better to not only just cross promote, but to actually promote each other. But yeah, so BT21 looks pretty hype. Um, I'm excited personally for apps. I think the Applemon show is criminally underrated. It's so like Cross Wars to me did more damage than Applemon. Applemon's failures in the grand scheme of things felt like it was just stemming off of Cross Wars because Cross Wars was awful. So it's just like, oh, it created like this disdain and disinterest. And like more people should give Applemon a chance in terms of a show. It definitely feels more traditional return to form when it comes to like TV content. So I enjoyed the ever living crap out of it, and I am excited to see what the future holds for Applemon because we do know that they're going to get some support. So like it's good to get in on ground zero so that way you could start building out everything around Applemon. And I think like that's going to be a pretty safe investment for the year's outlook is just go all in on Applemon. I'm not saying you have to go all in on Applemon. I would prefer cheaper cards, but if you're
Well,
like
it's
a
even
newer
like
player, Applemon is going to be extremely user friendly. Outside of right now, the secret rare being Gaiamon.
yeah, like and even if like you can even look at the whole crossheart deck and everything because before it was introduced in BT10 and it still continued to get support 2 sets later. So there is a possibility that there could be a couple of you know uh Applemon cards in the hackers well, not hackers memory, cyber sleuth set as well, and also potentially the hackers memory set as well.
Yeah, so I think like Applemon's level of support is probably going to be this year's Liberator, where they're not gonna like not support Liberator, but I think that there's gonna
Or
be
even
like a good
they could
amount
do
of
the same.
support.
Yeah, they could even do the whole Fenry Lugamon treatment that they did before too, where it was like BT14, you had the main core of the deck, and then the next set there was like 2 additional cards that got added
Well,
for
so
that, and
the
then
big problem with Applemon right now is the fact that there's not actually a lot of Applemons. So unless they start like making new ones, they can run out very quickly because you have or technically four protagonists in that series. Or no, you have five. I lied. You have five protagonists in that series. Um, and then you
yeah,
have the
because I think
villain. So you have like
there
all of the
was
apps that relate to the five protagonists, and then you have the apps that are relate to the villains, and then that's it. I think like there's a total of like 70 to 100 different Applemons. So like we already burst through the vast majority of the main characters, the main characters. So now we're just like each set could feature a different character, and then they by the time they have five sets, they'll have every character done.
yeah, because I think there's also like because I remember when Lugamon was like first coming out, I tried Google searching Lugamon just to see a picture of it, and for whatever reason, it kept pulling up because there's a Lugamon from the Applemon that's like a level 3 or something,
Yeah, like
like same name.
Huckmon's changed to Huckmon because it was Hackmon before because there's actually an Appmon called Appmon. And then I think like Lydramon and Raydramon are like something similar. But anyway, yeah. I think like apps are definitely going to be supported this year. I'm super excited that they are, and I am curious to see how good apps are going to end up being because I think like out of all of the decks in BT21, it probably has
The
definitely
most
top.
potential.
No, it doesn't have the most potential. I think it has its own issues, but I think it's definitely going to be like one of the top three decks out of BT21 that are like brand new decks. Well, I guess there's actually not a whole lot of brand new decks, but like out of new-ish decks, I think it definitely has a lot of potential because basically almost everything in BT21 except for apps is an upgrade or update. Outside of Medusamon also. So no, BT21 looks exciting. I'm curious to see what it's actually going to do and how the game is going to shift because of it. Right now, from a competitive outlook, I think that outside of the good decks getting better and then the bad decks just staying rogue playable, um, I don't really think much is going to change. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope things change for the better and not for the worse because we don't need to ignore the resource system any more than what we're already doing. Please, for the love of everything pure and innocent, Bandai, stop printing cards that cheat the resource system.
or at least as hard as they have been.
Yeah, I don't need Digimon going. I mean, we already have it, but Digimon going from rookie to mega for no memory at all, being able to attack that same turn and being able to kill the opponent, like, I don't know what they were thinking on letting the power level get that high because they didn't have to, but some people enjoy that high octane gameplay, as I kind of alluded to at the beginning. It's just not for me personally, which is why I'm taking the competitive step back because I can't anymore. I just can't. It's just not fun or engaging. But not to leave things on a downer note, um, make sure to buy BT21 when it comes out. There's going to be a lot of hype around the set because it's got some killer box toppers too, which we didn't even hit on, but we kind of hit on them before because they were already spoiled a long time ago. So this is the first set that's going to be releasing simultaneously worldwide. Let's see how Bandai is actually able to handle it. The pre-release is going to be super fire, so make sure to get ready and go to that. Shit.
I think there's a side event too for that. Like if you bring a friend or something like that, you get extra packs or something like that
Um,
as well.
Nobody actually follows that. I'll say that the bring a friend
Okay.
thing, nobody really cares. Like, it's unfortunate they did something similar before. It was with like starter decks or demo decks or something, and you get like a promo card or something. The reward is very nominal, and most stores will just not even care. Um, so some stores will try. I'll say that some stores will try. So I think like Digimon is looking to be pretty fire this year so far. They're off to a really good start. This is probably another super hype set. And we'll see how far the hype can carry the game. To try to grow into newer territory, and attract more players.
Yeah, especially with the fact that, like I said, the PlayStation monthly thing, it does have the Digimon Cyber or Hackers Memory game in it. It could also even like with the fact that we now have BT21 not only being like it does feel like a set that you can have a bunch of new players join in and still have a good time with that set alone. I mean,
Yeah,
hopefully,
like I think apps like between apps, Medusa and Adventures, like it definitely feels like a very and I guess Wing Guardians too. Um it feels like a very good time to jump in. A very good time.
yeah. So hopefully, like if people are playing the Hackers Memory game right now, they'll be interested into actually learning how to play the Digimon TCG.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So if I was Bandai Namco working with PlayStation on PlayStation Plus, I would have released Cyber Sleuth for this month, and then the month that BT 22 or 23 comes out, probably 22, I would release Hacker's Memory. So again, this goes to like managing the multimedia machine. They could have planned when they put these games out on PlayStation a little bit better, but the fact that we're just getting them on PlayStation as PlayStation Plus games is already pretty impressive. I don't know what kind of deals are made. If it's a Sony thing going up to Bandai, or if it's Bandai volunteering their game and then Sony pays them for it. I don't know. Just more Digimon exposure to me is always a good thing because Digimon is such an underrated franchise. But that's because Bandai tends to mismanage it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's going to be on the spotlight, especially with because I know PlayStation they like to advertise like, "Oh, hey, check out the new games of the month for free," or "Ooh, last minute, get your games now." So it's like it's the Digimon's going to be flagged in front of like millions of people. So
Yeah, no, I think it's very smart to release any cyber sleuth, like whether it's Hacker's Memory or the original. I think it's very smart for them releasing it this year in general. So like I guess that's a I think that it could have been timed better, but it's still a W in the grand scheme of things. Considering like it's actually more effort than Bandai's ever done, it seems like. And again, I don't even know if it's a Bandai effort. It could be a Sony one. But that would just be funny on how ironic it is, where it's just like Sony's aware that Digimon's picking up steam, so they're asking Bandai for their game on PlayStation Plus. Like that
or
feels like a
even
big
just like
win.
the or even just the fact that Sony even had the Digimon Time Stranger game live streamed on their like reveal whatever you want to call it.
State of play.
Yeah, their state of play, and they're like, "Ooh, maybe we could hype this up even more by encouraging people to play the Hacker's Memory too, so they could be more encouraged to play the Time Stranger when that comes out."
Yeah, and like it'll be interesting all around to see how Digimon grows and develops this year, because I think like just from the outlook, this year looks like it's going to be a very big year for Digimon. There's a lot of Digimon stuff coming out, and the hype is probably going to continue into 2026, because the anime probably won't be done until the spring season, which is basically this time next year. Um, and that's just from an anime perspective, assuming it's getting the 50 episode treatment.
Yeah, it could
Then
easily do. They could easily do 25 if for like the because I think what was it? Ghost Game was 25 if I remember correctly.
Ghost Games was the longest one, and that was like 70 episodes. Every other
Really,
Digimon
Ghost Game was
season, yes, Ghost Games was like 70 episodes, and they wasted all of that extra time. Like they literally had 20 extra episodes to do nothing with the story. It was the biggest disappointment in an ending I could have ever seen them do, and they just completely dropped the ball on the ending by the time it came up to there. But yeah, all of the other Digimon seasons have been around like 48 to
50.
55 episodes. That's like their average.
Yeah, that's so weird now that I think about that. Because like I know that like one of other Bandai's IPs is Gundam, and they've only been doing 25 episodes, and they can still wrap up a really good story with Gundam off 25 episodes.
Yeah, they could easily
But,
change and make this one a 25er very easily. I
yeah, the
don't want a
Digimon Beyond,
25er. Yeah, I
I can
don't
easily
want
believe Digimon
25. I
Beyond.
want 50. I want it to go as long as possible.
Yeah. Because, like, I mean, to me, it's like Digimon Beyond is like a, hey, catch up and see what everyone's doing now kind of thing. Or here's
Digimon
like a
Beyond
little
is
bit,
not really a thing. So far, all we have is like that stupid PV video that just tells us nothing.
yeah.
Like, and
But, like,
if Digimon Beyond is that PV video, then that's a big misstep.
yeah, because, like, the new anime that showcase a potential new Digimon, that one I would love to see be like 50 episodes
Yeah.
minimum.
It's so weird that we still don't really know what Beyond is outside of the PV, and if Beyond is the PV again, that's pretty sad. If anyone's curious what PV stands for, it's promotional video. So, just had to throw that out there in case not everyone's up to date with their hip lingo, yo. Ain't that right, dog?
Totally.
No, the line is faux shizzle.
Oh, see, I'm don't even know that lingo.
Oh my god. That's just you need to get hip with your lit lingo. I gotta try to
Yeah,
like add newer lingo. It's
yeah, no,
hard.
I'm kind of like the Hank Hill meme of, do I look like I know what a co-link is?
Oh god.
Yeah, that's all bad I am.
You just gotta go into Twitch and spam PogChat. There you go. That's the real way to do it. That proves you're hip. You're down with your bad self. But enough awful catchphrase lingo aside. Not even catchphrase. Um, just yeah, I'm done here. All right. So I guess on that, thank you everyone for watching, making it all the way to the end. Always appreciate everyone who does. If you enjoy this type of content, again, make sure to do the social media doobly doo thing. Leave that like, follow, subscribe, review, whatever. We appreciate you. We're almost 100 episodes strong. I don't know if we're gonna do anything special for episode 100 because sure it feels special, but we could do it technically forever. So whether people are supporting or not, I hope people are supporting and enjoying this content. Otherwise, like, why are we doing it other than our own entertainment? But regardless, thank you all for coming out and listening. It means the world to us. We will see you all in next episode. Later.